Hi, I'm Nahmer. I'm a composer, sound researcher, transdisciplinary artist, and professor of experimental media and performing arts. For over 20 years, I've been writing operas, musical theater pieces, music scores for films, theater, all kinds of stuff. I've also written concert works. I've worked for BMW as a sound researcher and sound designer, creating the new sound marks for their brands and many, many other things. I've been worked on the intersection of artistic forms and the mind and how we understand the world through the arts. So now you're wondering, well, he's not a manager. Why is he teaching us something about leadership? Well, since 2 years, I'm teaching at the Blatt School of Management the idea of arts and leadership. So the idea behind it is, how can we use different forms of artistic practices and connect them with the form and ideas of leadership? So in this case, my focus is, how can we get to the things that are usually hidden when you have an interview or your conversation or your Zoom call? How can we look at these things that we don't usually see, that we don't recognize, that we maybe don't listen to? And all of these things are very important if you want to understand, not just to use them against our opponent, to use them against some other company, but maybe that we can create new forms of identifying with the ideas of communication or actually being with the other person, focusing also on them, because if we help the other person, that might also in the end help us. And the environment might be much better to live and work in. So all of these ideas are structured in this very, very short and brief talk that I will give you in a few seconds. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening.
Think of the last meeting that felt slightly off. Nothing dramatic, just a thin tension in the air, a pressure, a shift. And suddenly you're not dealing with the content anymore, you're dealing with the atmosphere. This is not a sound you hear, it's a mental noise, something foggy in the relationship with the other person, a blur in the connection, static in the field between us. I call this noise, not mistake, not a defect, material. It shapes the room before anyone speaks. Takes 10 seconds and draw noise as a force. Not pretty, just true. A fork, a weight, a magnet, a crack, a wall. One quick symbol. Now I'll give you 3 questions. Choose one and carry it quietly while you listen. Don't solve it, just let it sit with you. The first one, if misunderstanding could vote, what would it choose for us? Second one, what does intelligence do when it doubts itself? And the third one, where in your body do you notice disagreement first? Good, keep it, because there's something that organizes how groups behave before anyone knows what they think, before language, before arguments, before decisions. A pre-verbal force, quiet, relational, exact. You know it. You walk into a room and the air's already tilted. Breathing changes, posture changes, attention narrows or disperses. No one says anything, and yet behavior is already rearranging itself. The unsaid is not simply what people are afraid to say. It is what has not yet become sayable, because it doesn't belong to language first. It belongs to relation. Look around where you are right now. Choose one object that could be a metaphor for the unsaid in a meeting. A closed door, a charging cable, a cup, a window, a pile of papers. Don't explain it, just choose it. Leadership systems are trained for clarity, decisions, resolutions, but force the unsaid into language too early and it collapses or it returns as defensiveness, confusion, withdrawal. Here's the truth, our biggest breakdowns rarely come from wrong ideas, they come from moving too early, clarifying too fast, resolving what wasn't ready. And now the future layer. AI will summarize meetings, optimize language, produce perfect communication at scale. Words will get cheaper, faster, smoother. So the advantage won't belong to those who speak first, but to those who can sense first. Those who can stay with what is forming without shrinking it into a neat conclusion, just to feel in the control. So here's the most practical move I know. Not advice, not therapy, just a door handle. Write one neutral question that would give the unsaid a channel. Not why you're resisting, but something like, what are we not naming yet? What feels risky to say right now? What would make it easier to speak? Write one sentence you could actually ask. Now, remember the question you choose at the beginning? What did it do to you while I spoke? Did you listen? Or did you notice your mind trying to solve it? Did your attention slip away from my words even briefly? If it did, you just experienced one form of noise. And this is daily life. We try our best, and still part of us is elsewhere. Then the other person reads it as they don't care, they're not really here, they're not taking this seriously. Even when you're trying as hard as you can. And that's the pivot. Most conflicts begin as a misreading of attention, not evil, not incompetence, just life. Two people with good intentions both carrying private noise, and the relationship starts to collect tension in silence. So I'm not telling you to focus, you have heard it 1,000 times. I'm asking for something more useful. When a meeting goes sideways, don't only ask, what's the decision? Ask, what is the noise right now? And with that, what is unsaid and needs a way to become sayable, so that the conclusion is not just fast, but fair. Because leadership is not only making decisions. Leadership is making the conditions where good decisions can exist. And that begins when we decide not to look away.